All right, so let's talk about attributes 3 and 4, assumption and function. In this class, we're going to be asking ourselves the question, which test should I choose? So we already have our conceptual models completed. We already know what that looks like. Now we just need to decide which test should we choose. So there's two things we're going to take into consideration in choosing a test. Levels of measurement, because we want to make sure that it's compatible with the data that we have. And the second one is the direction. We want to make sure that we're measuring what we intended to measure in our conceptual model. So how to choose a test? First, we check direction. The first thing we're going to do, let's say you have this conceptual model. Age predicts income. Age is the independent variable. Income is the dependent variable. It's an asymmetric relationship. So let me show you how to find this on the mega table to see which of the tests you're going to use. All right, so we have our mega table open, and under this direction row, we're going to zoom in and we're going to look for tests that have asymmetric relationships. So we have a t-test, we have a t-test, we have a one-way ANOVA, and that's asymmetric. This one is asymmetric with moderation. We don't need that one. This guy is asymmetric, this guy's asymmetric, this guy's asymmetric. Okay, so we know that we removed pretty much correlation, factor analysis, reliability, one sample t-test. We're not using any of those. We're also not going to use two-way ANOVA, and we're not going to use Cramer's V or gamma. Okay, so we already removed all of those. So now that we check direction and we have a smaller scope of possible tests we could choose, we're going to look into levels of measurement. Okay, so age and income, right? Age here is measured in ratio, right? Because it has a meaningful 0. Income here is also measured in ratio. So let's go look at the test that allows us to do this analysis here. So we're back at the mega table and we're going to look for levels of measurement, this levels of measurement, and we're going to try to eliminate some other tests, right? So, well, let's look at this. Dependent samples t-test, asymmetric, continuous, continuous, asymmetric, categorical, continuous. So we could use this one because ratio is a superpower of fitting pretty much anywhere, but we're usually going to prefer the higher level one. So we're not going to choose this one. One-way ANOVA, could we choose this one? Also not, because it's categorical and continuous. It's really not going to be benefiting from all of the perks that our data has. Two-way ANOVA, no. Linear regression is the other asymmetric one. Oh, look, linear regression. Test variables continuous, right? So ratio is continuous, right? It's that big group of levels of measurement that we call continuous. So right now our contenders are linear regression and this dependent samples t-test. So we looked at these two. These are the contenders that could capitalize on the full potential of the variables. And I know I told you, but you could still ask me, but it's but ratio could pass as nominal, right? So why are we not using ratio there? Again, we're always prioritizing the most powerful engine, okay? So we're like members of the elite. If you have the opportunity to sit in a VIP restaurant, you're gonna sit in a VIP restaurant, all right? Because you can. How to choose a test. So we looked at direction, we looked at the level of measurement, and the third thing is we're going to check the specifics. Each test has its nuances. The ANOVAs have a very specific way of conducting a test. The t-tests are also slightly different. We're going to learn there's something about all the t-tests, all of these 3 t-tests, right? Similarly, all of these chi-squared tests have a very specific characteristic. Linear regression, correlation, they all have very specific characteristics. And these are the ones that are going to be taken into consideration when making the final choice. And you're going to learn about these as we go to the next module. So we'll learn that as we go. You don't have to worry about it too much. Assumptions is another specific nuance, right, that we could have in a test. So different tests have different assumptions, usually in terms of sample size, normal distribution. But the normal distribution assumption, we just talked about it from day one. Like we're considering that all of them, everything's normally distributed, right? So we don't really think about that too much. We usually think about sample size. And here on the mega table, we can see that different tests are going to have different assumptions. Here on the assumption row, you can see test variables normally distributed, 30 participants per group, 30 participants per group, ideally 100. But an important disclaimer, assumptions are a matter of taste. Each university is going to have their own rules, their own standards for what an assumption. So make sure you check with your authority, okay? Whatever, your professor, or maybe the person you're working with. Otherwise, you can use the mega table assumptions. It's usually not going to change too much from what we have here in the mega table. So we'll learn about that as we go. So don't worry about that for now. I'll specify each assumption of each test as we learn each test. Gratitude breath, and that's it. And we'll see you next time.